All right. Well, hello, everyone, and happy Friday to you. We made it. We made it here. It's Friday, April 24th. By this time in the week, the laundry is piled high. The kids have all discovered that their parents can't do math homework, and we're getting down to our very last toilet paper rations. But the weekend is in sight, so that's a good thing. And another good thing, of course, is our very special guest today on the Jazziz Daily Brunch, because joining us is none other than the all-around great multi-instrumentalist, the guy who can play anything with a reed, Jeff Coffin. You know him from his own work with the Mutet. You know him from his solo stuff. You know him with his association with the Flecktones, with Dave Matthews Band. This is a really, really exciting guest. I've been a huge fan for a long time, and I am very, very excited to talk to him. I should remind myself, for people just tuning in for the first time, I am Brian Zimmerman, daily digital content editor for Jazziz Magazine and host of the Jazziz Daily Brunch. And before we get into what I'm sure is going to be an amazing conversation and performance, Jeff is going to be sharing some new material with us. I just want to take a minute to thank some of this episode's sponsors. So they include Concord Jazz, a great label out of the West Coast. And the big news for them is they are releasing a new album called Ella 100 live at the Apollo. It comes out today. It's an exciting album that celebrates the music and life of the First Lady of Song, Ella Fitzgerald. And it was recorded live at the Apollo in Harlem in front of an ecstatic audience. It was produced by 8-time Grammy and Emmy Award recipient and former Ella Fitzgerald drummer Greg Field, and it is hosted by Grammy Award winner Patty Austin and multi-Tony Award nominated actor and singer David Allen Greer. It features some phenomenal performances from the likes of Andra Day, Lettucey, Liz Wright, Cassandra Wilson, Monica Mancini, and so many more. Again, it is out right now, so go buy the album. And we're actually going to have Greg Field, the producer, on the show next Monday, the 27th, to talk about the making of this incredible CD. To learn more, visit concord.com. We are also brought to you by Blue Sound. So Blue Sound is an award-winning wireless high-res sound system that lets you play music in any and every room throughout your home. It's as easy as just choosing your favorite tunes, maybe a Jeff Coffin tune from your favorite digital streaming service, and then hooking up to the free Blue OS app on your smartphone, tablet, or desktop computer. Getting the kind of crisp, detailed sound that only an audiophile-grade system can deliver has never been easier. Some products that Blue Sound think our Jazziz viewers might enjoy are the Node 2i wireless multi-room high-res streamer. That's the one that you kind of carry from room to room, play the same music as you drink your coffee, your wine and run room. Hang out, in the bedroom, bathroom, wherever you want to listen to music. And the Pulse Soundbar 2i wireless streaming multi-room sound system. That's the nice big one that you can put under your TV. Really get the, baseball game to sound great. Anyway, hey, you can learn more about these products on bluesound.com or by visiting our website, where we have put together a Blue Sound buyer's guide. So that would also be available on jazziz.com. Anyway, hey, that's enough for me and my sponsors. Again, it's a pleasure to be with you. Let's go ahead and welcome to the brunch our very special guest, Jeff Coffin. Hey, what's up, man?
Hi. How are you, buddy?
Good, man. Good, man. This is actually not our first time speaking, believe it or not. I have a personal story with you. You came down to Gainesville, Florida. Okay, this is when I was in college, so it must have been the early 2000s, with the Mutet, with Felix Pistorius, and Future Man. I want to say you performed at like a guitar shop or something. And it was an amazing performance. And after it wrapped, people left, and all of us jazz nerds came and surrounded you to ask you questions. And you said, guys, check this out, man. Check this out. You reached into your pocket. And you said, behold. You pulled out a first-generation iPod. You were like, you were like 10 gigs of music in the palm of my hand. This is incredible technology. Of course, now you have every song ever in the palm of your hand all the time. But back then, you're like, this is the most amazing thing. So I left, dude. I went back to my dorm. I was like, well, if Jeff has an iPod, man, I've got to get one.
Gotta get an iPod.
I gotta get an iPod. I saved all the money from working at the radio station, the college radio station. I went and I bought myself an iPod. And Jeff, I still have it, dude.
Oh, come on.
A relic.
Right on, man.
I sprung for the 30 gigger, and now it's mostly a paperweight. But every time I pull it out, I'm reminded of that.
That's so funny.
The time with you, man.
I have a funny iPod story.
Okay.
A couple of years ago, so I recorded a big band record with Caleb Chapman and the Crescent Super Band a few years back.
Yeah, man.
We were down in Cuba when we started it. I actually invited myself on the trip that his kids were taking, and I said, "You're going to Cuba. You got to bring me." And he said,
"Yeah,
you want to go?" And I said, "Come on, man, really?" And so it ended up happening anyway. It was a beautiful, like week-long trip down there. So we recorded at Abdallah Studios. We had talked about doing a big band record of all my tunes with his kids. I said, well, let's do this, man. While we're down there, let's do, let's start the record. Let's do a couple of tunes down there. So we got Abdallah Studios for the day, and we recorded, and they had pretty good gear. Of course, they had old Neumann microphones, the old German,
right.
microphones. They had everything you could ever want. And so at the end of the session, the two engineers, there were two women engineers, and so their English was very good. And they said, okay, so we're done. All we need is a hard drive to transfer the material.
And you're like,
And I looked at Caleb and I said, I said, did you bring a hard drive? He said, oh my God, no. He says, did you bring a hard drive? I said, no. It's not like there's a Staples in
right.
You
can just run out, for a quick.
And so we're like, oh my God, what are we gonna do? There's no internet either, so you can't upload the files.
Right.
So I had a newer generation iPod, 180 gig iPod.
Nice.
Plugged that sucker in, partitioned it off, put the files on there, put it in my pocket, and walked out.
Wow, the whole album on an iPod. iPod saves the day. Too funny,
Isn't that
man.
Crazy?
Yeah, that's crazy, dude. Yeah. Well, Jeff, hey man, thank you for joining me on the brunch. This is awesome, dude. Fans of the brunch know I usually drink coffee, but for you, I brewed a special beverage. It's called Mud Water. You heard of that?
Nice. What is that?
Oh, this is nice, dude. It's got a chai tea base. Okay, and it's got some cocoa, some reishi mushroom powder, some chaga mushroom powder, some lion's mane.
Is it that? Oh God, what's the name of the place? Little packet of mushroom things like Major's mushrooms or something. It's not magic.
No.
It's something, but you put a little scoop in your.
You put a little scoop in, yes,
yeah,
and you froth it up.
Same thing, yeah.
There you go, man. No, if it was magic mushrooms, this would be a very different interview.
It'd be a very different interview.
Jeff, man, you see some comments popping up on the screen. People are saying hello from all over. We invite people on Facebook, YouTube. Please feel free, chime in, say hello, say what's up. If you have a question for Jeff, ask away.
Toledo in Brazil, right on.
Yeah, man.
All right.
But Jeff, we were sharing iPod stories. You strike me as a guy just who listens to everything, man. Who, there's not every genre you just soak it up. Is there anything you've been spinning lately to get you through what are crazy unprecedented times here?
Well, I've been checking out the new Fiona Apple record quite a bit.
Oh yeah, right.
Which just I really love. I really love her. A very unique voice and concept. Her phrasing is incredible. A number of years ago, like early 2000s, I guess it was her second record that came out. It was the one with all the writing over the front of it. Yeah. When the Pawn, maybe.
Yeah.
And on that record, she was using woodwinds instead of synth pads on things, right? And I remember we were doing a Flecktones record, and I told Bela about it. I said, man, there's this woman, Fiona Apple, that is using woodwinds instead of synth pads and that kind of thing. And I said, I'd like to try that on this record. I think it was Outbound. And so we tried it, and I've been doing it ever since. I mean, it kind of became something that I do. I've got everything from bass flute to piccolo, bass clarinet, all the saxophones, of course. And so I do a lot of these kind of woodwind voicings within things. And
Sweet,
so I've been checking that out. I'm in the middle of literally 22 different tunes. Like, I'm doing a big band tune. I've got like all this stuff mapped out. I've got another one of my tunes for sax section. All these are separate tunes.
Oh man.
All these. This is the form of a tune. I've got George Porter Jr. and Vic Wooten on.
Nice.
Nicholas Payton on that tune also, and some other guests. all these.
We get to see the genius at work here, sketching out the
genius,
tunes.
But I'm at work. I'll tell you that. I've been busy.
Yeah.
Literally every day I'm in my studio for hours a day, working on this stuff, recording. I've been working a bunch with Chester Thompson, the great drummer from Genesis, Frank Zappa, Weather Report, George Duke. He lives here. So I've been sending him over files. I just had an EP come out yesterday that I've got Victor Krause playing bass on, Jordan Perlson on Hajira on one tune, which is an Indian frame drum.
Yep.
And my wife, Leoko Suzuki, plays harmonium on one of the tunes.
I was just spinning it, man. It's great. It's great. I was just listening to it before the interview, and it's exactly what we need right now. Songs of Solitude is the name of the EP, right?
Songs of Solitude, yep.
Oh, man. It's just, you get worked up over this stuff, read the news, put on Songs of Solitude, man. That is exactly what you need. Yeah, super chill. Super chill.
And I wrote it a couple of weeks ago. Basically, I was just working on some bass ostinatos on keyboards. Like, again, very simple, but the soprano lines are a bit Middle Eastern in influence, which is another music that I really love. And the first tune, Stillness, is based off of a raga, and I can't remember which one it is. I should have written it down, but I was looking at a bunch of them online. And so the shape of this melody kind of started to weave itself out. But they're right in the order that I wrote them, all three tunes.
Right.
And, but I think it turned out really well. It's on my label, Ear Up Records.
Yep.
And, you can stream it on Spotify, Amazon, Apple Music, et cetera, et cetera. You can also get it on Bandcamp, and you can go to jeffcoffin.com, and you can find it wherever.
Yep. And then there's what's this 45 digital 45 series that you're doing?
Yeah,
that's pretty cool too.
Do that because I've got so much backlog in my catalog, and so the first tune that I did is a tune of mine called "Tall and Lanky," which is a kind of a New Orleans second line tune.
Become kind of an iconic tune for you,
Yeah, it's a super fun tune, and so Yamaha had asked myself, Randy Brecker, and Grace Kelly a couple of years ago to do something at the NAMM show out in Los Angeles. And so he said, we want a tune that will feature all of you guys, something that's fun, that's high energy, and it's got to be public domain. And I was like, okay. I said, well, let me go back and kind of listen to some public domain stuff. And I didn't like anything because the public domain is all like early 20th century.
Right.
I was kind of like, well, I said, what about this? I said, it's my tune. I said, I'm not going to charge you for it. So let's just do that. So we did a version of it a little quicker than I normally do because we're under a time constraint. I'd be under like a certain amount of time. And
right.
So I also wrote what I call the Solely from Hell that's on there. And so it's myself, Grace Kelly, Randy Brecker, Victor Wooten on bass, Keith Carlock on drums from Steely Dan.
Yeah.
Mike Baguetta on guitar, Matt Rawlings on keys, Jordan Perlson on percussion. So it's this crazy all-star, amazing group of musicians. And so that was my first release. The second was a tune I wrote with this great keyboardist here in town named Pat Coyle.
Pat Coyle, man. That's a cool tune too.
He's amazing, called Emergence.
Yep.
And Pat plays with Michael McDonald. He's been with Michael for many years, and just a brilliant improviser and keyboardist. Taught at University of North Texas for a few years also, and he's an alum of that school, as am I.
Yep.
And so I've got, like I said, I've got like all these tunes, man, that I'm working on and finishing up. I think the next one I'm gonna release is going to be called Vinny the Crow, and it's a tune that I wrote with a drummer here in Nashville named Alex Clayton, who was a student at Belmont, and he came over one time. I was like, man, let's just write a tune. And so I've got Jordan on that, Jordan Perlson on drums, DJ Logic, Michael League from Snarky Puppy, Nigel Hall on keys, out of New Orleans, and I don't even know what else is on that, but it's a super funky tune.
Yeah, man.
And I might play you guys a little snippet of that today. And working on some Afrobeat stuff with Chester, and this other tune that I call it the bass clarinet tune, that's in 13 that I send down to a buddy of mine in Brazil to do some percussion on. I've got Chester playing on that also. And when I first sent it to him, because like I do these little experiments, basically anything that I can do within reach of either hand here at my desk at my studio. And so I sent it to Chester, and he said, man, he says, is it only going to be this long? It's like, 2.5 or 3 minutes long. I said, well, I said, kind of. I said, it's just a little experiment. He said, well, can it be longer? And I was like, yes, it should it be. So I because I record to a click in the grid, it's super easy to change things around. So I did some changing on the arrangement and sent it back to Chester to replay. So I sent it So I sent it to my buddy in Brazil, and he ended up sending me literally 22 tracks of Brazilian percussion, including berimbau stuff, and it's unbelievable. And I should really play you guys some of that today, also.
Yeah, man,
it's really quite phenomenal. And, so I'm almost done with that, also, and man, just experimenting like crazy, just trying stuff. And
that's awesome, man. That's awesome, man. I'm glad you keep busy. And this series especially is such a wonderful showcase for your versatility, man, because you mentioned it's tall and lanky. It's got a great New Orleans vibe, nice trad vibe. The stuff you did with Pat Coyle was like grooving, almost like that George Duke vibe. And then Songs of Solitude, it's that raga, totally mellow. You can really do it all, dude. And from what I understand, you've got a horn nearby. I'm sure that's always the case. And we were saying that maybe you would play a little something to start things off.
Play a little blues. I always nice to start the day off with the blues.
Always a good call. Always a good call.
Got my Yamaha 82Z soprano.
Yeah, man.
Which I think is maybe the greatest soprano ever made, quite honestly. You see, it's actually unlacquered. The body is unlacquered.
I was going to say, it's a nice look.
Yeah, the keys have lacquer on them. I'm not sure if they actually offer the soprano unlacquered. When they took the lacquer off of this horn, I see Portugal. Hey, Portugal.
And Pat Coyle dropped us a line, too.
Nice.
Hey,
nice.
Pat.
Thanks, Pat. And my buddy Jose Sabatha is on here also. Jose teaches trumpet at Vanderbilt. And there he is. Yeah, my buddy.
What's up, Jose?
I'm getting ready to do another tune of mine with the Vanderbilt jazz faculty. It's called By a Thread. And that's how we're all hanging on to it, is by a thread.
So true, man.
Maybe I'll play a little snippy of that today also.
Yeah.
It's just in the early stages. Jose hasn't put his part on yet. The bone player hasn't put his part on. We need another flute part that someone's putting. So I kind of did all the parts, and then I'm farming everything out to the faculty members. And so anyhow, so yeah. So I'll play.
Right on.
You hear that all right?
Yeah, man. Sound great.
Brian, you still there?
Sounds good to me, man.
Okay. Yeah.
Dig it, man. One of the best slap tongues in the biz, Jeff Coffin. That was beautiful, man. The old running joke here is that Jeff, our producer, has to turn off my mic and my camera. Otherwise, the internet would just hear me grunting in approval and see my stank face.
There's no grunting in jazz. There's no grunting in jazz.
That was awesome, dude.
Thank you.
Oh, there I am again.
I've been playing a lot of soprano recently. So it's been a lot of soprano and flute, actually.
Okay.
And strangely, quite a bit of piccolo. I don't know why, but there's been a couple of things that I've been recording that I've been putting piccolo on, and which I really love. You know, it's such a beautiful sound. I've got this really beautiful Yamaha wood piccolo that's just, man, it's just fantastic.
Oh, nice.
And so those couple of horns I've been getting deeply. I mean, I've been deeply into the soprano for a long time now.
Yeah, that we know. Yep.
And it's, you know, it's just such a vocal instrument for me. And,
and I've heard interviews with you in which you talk about your influences, you know, jazz influences growing up were mainly vocalists. Is that the case? You were really kind of drawn to vocalists?
It wasn't jazz vocalists, though. It was soul R&B vocalists, especially when I was young. I mean, still to this day. I mean, people like Aretha. I mean, for me, Aretha, you know, that's the top of the mountain.
Yeah.
Aretha, Stevie Wonder, Marvin Gaye, Otis Redding, Gladys Knight, so on and so forth. That kind of school of musicians. I was profoundly influenced by Rickie Lee Jones also.
Okay.
And I love her music. I love the way she phrases. There's a record called Girl at Her Volcano, which is a lesser known of her records, where she does some standards. And the thing that I appreciate so much about her is that she will sing a note, the same note, and in the middle of the note she'll change the timbre of it, sometimes a couple of times. And I used to listen under headphones and hear how she would end a note, either with just the breath or the way that it would kind of almost like you know, she would have just like a slight
kind of sotto voce thing at the end.
Yeah, it was so beautiful, man.
Yeah,
the way that it would tail off and it would just kind of become this whisper. Her phrasing, Nat Cole also was huge for me. Sinatra.
Talk about phrasing. Yeah.
I've always kind of been enamored by the way people phrase, and it's something that's really hard to teach. But I do a lot of education work too. I teach at Vanderbilt. I've been there for going on my 6th year in the fall. And I do a lot of education work around the country doing clinics and workshops. And so one of the things that I talk about is how to phrase and how to learn how to do that. And one of the things that I do is I'll take a spoken word phrase and I'll use it as an improvisation, you know? And so for
just
example,
like a line from a piece. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, just, you know, just so that it's not, you know, pre-thought out, like give me a 2 or 3 word phrase, just something short, something super easy. It can be anything at all, just something really short and easy. Like,
hey, Jeff, how you doing?
Let's just go, hey, Jeff.
Okay.
Okay. So those 2 phrases. So it's 2 syllables. Hey, Jeff. Da-da, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I'm thinking, hey, Jeff. So if I'm playing 2, 3,
yeah, man.
That phrase all the way through. Now you can do it to a longer phrase. It's kind of hard to do it to a shorter phrase.
Well, hey, Sonny Rollins did that, you know, in what St. Thomas constructed a whole first verse, you know, of his solo.
Right.
That was beautiful.
So you start to think it becomes a motivic development. But if you did something like, how are you today? Suddenly you're not meter. It's how are you today? It's 5 syllables. You know, so suddenly you're you know, and you start to have these interesting lines. You can elongate them, you can shorten them, you can say it over again. How are you today? How are you today? Right? And
Right.
so you can elongate it. How are you today? How are you
Right.
today? You know, this is not a new concept. So we're talking about basically putting lyrics to an improvisation, but thinking very simply at first. You know, and so when you get young students to do this back and forth, how are you? I'm fine. You know,
You're going back to the nature of this thing, which is dialogue and storytelling.
That's exactly it. It's dialogue.
Yeah.
It brings it back to dialogue.
Yeah.
And it brings it back to literally to communication.
Right.
Which is the whole purpose of the arts, is to communicate.
Right.
And sometimes you're just trying to say, hey, this is I don't need any feedback. This is just what I'm giving you, which is another form of communication as well. But if you're in an ensemble, the idea is to dialogue. The idea is to communicate back and forth to one another. Right. And so when you're soloing in a small group, the rhythm section is not your backup band. And I think we get this idea because we play it with all these play-alongs, which are essential. You know, I mean, I grew up playing Jamie Aebersold recordings. I mean, they're amazing. Jamie is an incredible visionary educationally. The only problem with those recordings and things like iReal Pro, the Hal Leonard series, all that, is there's no interaction.
Right.
You know? And so, but what a beautiful thing to have been able to grow up with playing these tunes when you're not in the scene where you can go and play these tunes.
Right.
You know, so
but you need both. You need the theory. Yeah.
And the thing you have to learn, though, eventually is how to play with other people.
Yeah.
You know, and how do you phrase? How do you have a conversation with music? And you have to do it by phrasing. You have to do it by listening in particular, which is the top fundamental that you can ever work on. And so these are elements that I talk about musically with my students. And when I go and do workshops and stuff, I'm very passionate about it. And the other thing I've been doing, interestingly enough, not to go down the education rabbit hole here, but one of the things I've been doing with my students is having them sing rhythmic solos. So don't pay any attention. And this is a really interesting, anybody can do this. This is really fascinating to me anyway. So you take a tune, any tune, and you sing it rhythmically. Don't worry about the pitch. Like just figure that you're gonna, like, even atonal is fine. Doesn't matter.
Okay.
And then you go back and you transcribe rhythmically what you did. Like let's say you start off with just a chorus, and you go back and you transcribe what you did rhythmically. Then you write a solo to it. Right.
Working backwards from the way you normally think. Yeah.
The idea of locking in the rhythmic thing, which forces you to subdivide. You know. And so I always have my tune. I say, look, you know, we're going to work on these tunes, but you can't work on it at a tempo at the beginning, at a tempo faster than you can realize double time. So the reason for that is that it forces them to subdivide, and it forces them to start to play lines that are flowing. I always tell them, achieve the weave, you know, so that this thing is kind of moving and swirling as you're going along and connecting these lines. So if it's at 80 beats a minute, you're also working at 160 beats a minute.
Right.
It's just you're playing the changes half as fast as you would.
The idea is to get a through line, you know, not just stringing together exercises or patterns.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, Jeff, you know, you're so well versed in this stuff. You're so well versed in the canon of jazz. You mentioned you were a UNT guy, you know, and your stuff with the mutet and your own stuff, you know, obviously draws, you know, heavily from the jazz tradition, the whole jazz tradition. And, you know, I'm curious, I'm coming from that side as well. Yep. And, you know, I know your work through that side as well. And yet in doing the research for this interview and, you know, coming across your stuff with Dave Matthews Band, I was struck kind of by the overlap between the two. Jam band stuff was never my scene. And I was wondering if it was yours, if it was on your radar at all growing up, you know, if you were into the Dead and, you know, and if so, if you see any overlaps, you know, kind of between the two scenes, the way they operate, the way people listen, because it's, oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, even on the fan level, you know, just seeing the way these fans document concerts online, transcribe, you know, dialogue that occurred on stage. It reminds me of, you know, the old Benedetti recordings with Charlie
I
Parker.
was just thinking about that.
Yeah,
Exactly
you
what I
know,
was just thinking
Dave
about.
Benedetti lugging his tape recorder around and just fanatically recording Charlie Parker solos.
Right, he's like in the bathroom. You're like,
Yeah,
putting the
try
mic
to
over
throw
the
them.
top.
Yeah, you know, it kind of gave me the same vibe. So that's what I wanted to know. Was this music on your radar? Were you into it, you know, before linking up with Dave?
No.
Wow.
No. But it's interesting, you know, because I spent 14 years with Bela Fleck and the Flecktones from
Sure.
97 to through 2010. For the last 2 years, 2008 and 2009, I was doing both bands, Flecktones
Oh, wow.
and Barry Matthews, doing double duty.
Yeah.
And but it's interesting because, you know, people would call the Flecktones a jam band also,
Right.
and which is, to me, as far from the truth as it can be. I mean, and the same with Matthews. It's like, just because there's solos in a pop band, I mean, automatically, like, it becomes a jam band,
Right.
because people are jamming, you know.
Right.
But here's the thing that I think about, you know, when we go back and we listen to live Coltrane recordings, he was doing 30-minute tunes in the 60s.
Totally.
So Coltrane was a jam band,
Right.
you know.
That's a good point.
And
That's a good point.
Indian musicians, the ragas sometimes go on for an hour plus. So this is not this is nothing new under the sun.
Right.
You know, just because there's solos going on and you know, I was talking about this yesterday about the Matthews music. It's very interesting to me because when I learned the catalog in early 2009, because when I started playing with them in 2008 when Leroy got hurt, it was only supposed to be for a few months, you know, until Roy recovered, which tragically he did not.
Right.
And so when they asked me to join the band, I had to learn the catalog. Up until that point, I had just had some sheet music because, you know, I wasn't playing the music to do the gig, you know.
Right.
I was playing the music to get through the gig, and, you know, whatever I could learn, I could learn. But for a month in early 2009, 3 to 4 hours a day, I would just put my iPod.
Here we go. That old friend. Yeah.
Thank you, Apple. I would put the iPod on, and for 3 or 4 hours a day, I would just play through the material. You know, trying to get it so that it was here, because I'm completely convinced that the brain recognizes music differently when it's on a piece of paper than it does when you've memorized it.
Yeah.
And so it just, there's something that has to switch.
Right.
And I have to.
And there's some feels that cannot be transcribed. You know, they defy. Oh, Jeff, you there?
Stuff that I was like, okay, well, this is kind of in 3, like it'd be a triplet feel.
Yeah.
But then it would be in 2 in this other section. So I was like, well, how should I think about this? You know, and then Rapunzel, which I remember when we would open for Matthews with the Flecktones, they would play that tune and we go like, what time signature is this thing in? Like, we couldn't figure it out, man. Yeah. It's in 5, but what Carter's doing over the top of it is like a slow 5. Boom, ba-dum, da-da, take 5, da-da. You know, the way that it's displaced also. Yeah. You know, all this in the music is complex, man. It's asymmetrical also, which makes it even stranger. So the that Rashawn and I are playing in the first chorus might be completely morphed in the second chorus. So it's not like you can learn a line and it comes back time after time like a pop tune. They're very unique and very, very interesting. The way that Leroy would kind of come up through the music with these lines, and it's just beautiful, man. It's very interesting. And
it all comes organically. That can only come from an Ellington situation, you know. People,
I think they have a desire and maybe a need in some ways to sort of compartmentalize music, you know, in the things that they're looking at, just to kind of make sense of it. And I'm fine with that. I mean, people will say to me, well, what kind of music do you play? And I'm like, music. I don't know what to tell them, you know.
The old Duke Ellington quote, right? Uh-oh. Am I still here? Let's see.
Huh. I can't hear you for some reason now. I didn't touch anything on my... You can hear me okay? Oh, maybe you're back.
You hear me? You got me?
Well, I've got you somewhere else. The host has unmuted your mic. Huh. For some reason, I lost you during that conversation, though.
Uh-oh.
On my phone.
You got me now? Our producer, Jeff, is saying that he can hear both of us.
I don't know.
All
Let me
right.
just go on your headphones and see if I can hear you there. Hang on.
How about now?
Okay, let's try that.
Got me now, Jeff?
I do.
All right.
I've got a little bit of slapback, but it's okay. I can work with
Okay.
it.
Hey, man. This is live TV.
That's right.
Live TV. All right, Jeff, producer Jeff. Are we good? Good to go? I think so. Good to go.
Okay.
We got the good to go.
All right.
Yeah, man. And, you're probably one of the best people in jazz to talk to about this, just because you've been with Dave and have played these colossal venues. What's the largest venue you've ever played with Dave?
Probably around 90,000 people.
I mean,
that was in Brazil for Rock in Rio. 90, 100,000 probably. Something
wow.
like that.
Wow. How long do you think before we can get back to something like that, or just...
Man, it's hard to say. I mean,
yeah.
This is unprecedented what's going on. And I don't know. I mean, I think everybody's trying to figure it out. Obviously, that's the $1 million question right there. When do we come back? Who knows?
Yeah, man. Yeah. It's tough. Unfortunately, you've been, like we said, very busy making music. Mm-hmm. You mentioned that you've had some stuff to share with us.
I do.
Some brand new material. And Jeff, dude, we would love to hear it. So what do you got cooking? Well,
I've got an EP that just came out yesterday. I'd love to share a little of that with you. I can plug in from my Pro Tools unit into my iPhone and play you stuff direct out of that. So I think I'm going to do that. And I just want to make sure that you guys will be able to hear it here.
Right on.
Hold up this program. And so it's a 3-song EP called Songs of Solitude.
Yep.
And so my record label, Ear Up Records. I'm going to plug in. I'm not going to be able to hear you for a minute.
Okay.
Okay, can you hear me through this microphone?
I think we're getting a reminder to turn your iPhone mic off or down.
Is that better?
Got a lot of reverb. It's kind of cool, but I don't know if that's the effect you're going for.
Is this better?
Yeah, man.
Okay, great. Let's try that. Okay, so get the microphone, get everything back up and running here. All right, so this is I'll just give you a couple little snippets off of this EP, and then I'll play you some other stuff that's still in the can, brand new. So this is the first part of the EP. This is called Stillness. Victor Krause on the bass, the great Victor Krause, who lives here in Nashville also. So basically what I did is I had done some bass ostinatos on the keyboard, demoed this stuff out and just sent it to him.
Okay. I'm not hearing anything.
You're not hearing any music?
Maybe turn it up a little bit.
Can you hear that? If not, I'll go from a different way. No, you're not hearing it?
Okay. No.
Let me go in from Pro Tools itself.
Okay.
Let's see. Here's Stillness. Pull that up.
Okay. Can I say that I'm also loving the jazz radio announcer Jeff voice, man? It's I dig it. You need your own show, brother.
There you go. Tell me if you can hear this. Can you hear any of that?
No. Can't hear. Producer Jeff, and this was making it complicated, folks. We have two Jeffs on the show, our producer Jeff and Jeff Coffin.
Producer Jeff, can you unmute my computer microphone? See if you can hear that. Yay, nay?
Nay.
Huh. That's weird. You should be getting direct sound into that. Let me see.
Yeah.
Oh, let me try this. Hang on a second.
We will crack this code, folks.
Yeah, it just gives you feedback. Huh. That's weird. Normally this works fine. Just plugging directly into this. But you've got my computer microphone unmuted?
Yep. Only your phone is muted.
All right. Well, let me just play it out of my speakers and see if you can hear that.
All right, cool.
The
The old-fashioned way.
The old-fashioned way.
We can hear that. I can hear that.
Is this better with this mic off?
Sounds better. I would say just crank that up a little bit. And
Okay, I'm going to go back to the beginning of the tune. All right, here we go. Let's try this.
all good, man.
Hi, Caleb Chapman. I see you.
And a lot of people saying hi on Facebook.
Yeah. Hey, April. Michelle, Alberto, Michael, Aharon.
Love the ostinato on this, man.
All right, thank you.
Are we in 9?
I have no idea.
And this isn't looped, is it? This is...
No, Victor's playing.
Oh, I love that. I love that repetitiveness. You see the subtle changes, you know, as it develops organically.
Gets into a little improvisational stuff also, and so I'm gonna go ahead and stop this one now. And so again, this is there's 3 of these pieces.
Yep.
And they were all written, in order. And the second one has some harmonium on it. The second one also, let me play. I'm gonna play a little snippet of this.
Let's do it.
Okay, let me find it here.
Again, we should remind people the name of the EP, Sounds of Solitude.
Songs of Solitude.
Songs of Solitude. Available right now on Jeff's website. Check it out. stream it as well.
This
But
tune-
while you're on Jeff's website, pick up some merch, buy some stuff.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with that. So on this tune, Quiet, I'll just play I'll just kind of jump into the tune, but there's a section. See if you can identify this sound.
Okay.
It's coming up after this phrase.
Okay.
Here.
I don't know. What is that? Instrument wise?
Yeah.
It's not some kind of pan flute.
No,
It's not Emerito Pascal playing the apple juice bottles.
you're very close. Here,
Really? Okay.
Let's check it out. Just the three voices together.
The glass soda bottles. Yeah,
Yeah.
man.
Just filled up to a different level. So
Yeah.
you can tune them. Just use a strobe tuner to tune them. So I just filled them up to a different level, and then with the third tone that I wanted, just got it from there. And so this is the effect.
Oh, man. That is so cool. And see, you don't need synths sometimes, people.
No, I mean you make a lot of sound on your own
Exactly. Exactly, dude.
sound.
You
And,
know.
Yeah, so let me turn you on to something else here.
Sure.
This is an Afrobeat tune I've been working on.
Okay.
With the great Chester Thompson.
Okay.
It just started off with me working on it from a Tony Allen drum loop. Tony Allen played with Fela Kuti,
Sure.
a Nigerian saxophonist and activist for many years. And yeah, thanks, Thomas. Thomas Mancini just put up something about Songs of Solitude. He's over in Portugal, over in Lisbon. And so anyway, so I started this with a Tony Allen loop, and just kind of worked this melody and started to kind of displace this melody, put a bunch of flute stuff on it, did some percussion, sent it to a buddy of mine in Brazil. He's doing some percussion stuff at the end. I'm going to get the great Carlos Malta to do some Brazilian fife stuff at the end also. But I've got Chester on drums, Nigel Hall again on Rhodes, and my friend Alana Rockland, who plays with Soundtribe Sector 9 on bass on this. And we're getting Akil Thompson, Chester's son, on guitar also, who is a brilliant multi-instrumentalist. And I'll give you a little snippet of this. This is a 12-minute tune. I'm not going to play you the entire thing. I'll play you just a couple of different phrases of it so you can check it out.
Cool, man. Thanks.
Let me know if the sound is okay.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and.
Yeah, man. You can't mute that, Jeff. Sorry, man.
Huh. Little Jazziz dance party.
Absolutely, dude.
I can't help myself.
Let it go, brother.
Hey, Subrata. My friend Subrata is on from India.
Hey, Subrata, welcome to the dance party.
He's an amazing tabla player over there. We recorded together on that Dream Shanti project. There he is, my buddy.
Right on, man. That was a great album. Your recent one with Liebman on the corner.
Yeah.
Also brought the funk.
Huh.
Bridging it up a little bit.
It's the Barry Manilow modulation.
Yeah.
Come on, y'all, out of your seats, out of your seats.
There we go. Dig into that minor seventh, man.
Okay, so I'm going to stop this now. Anyhow, yeah, so that's some fun stuff, man.
Fire, man.
And I haven't listened to it for a few days, and it sounds even better now than it did then. And it sounded really good then.
Well,
I just get excited about how people
Absolutely,
realize music, you know?
for sure.
And it's so much fun to listen to it come together. But that'll be a tune that I'll be releasing soon as well. The other thing do we have time to play one more thing?
Absolutely, man. If we've proven anything here, it's that you need your own radio show.
I don't know about that.
But,
you know, I do some live streaming. I'm actually doing another live stream tonight at 7:00.
right on.
I'll be talking a little bit about the EP, and I'll actually be this next tune. I'm going to be pulling this tune apart tonight. Also, this is a tune called "Vinny the Crow."
Oops. Not quite yet. We still lost you, but we will encourage people to tune into that live stream. I'll be there. No sound on Jeff. It was too funky. There we go. Well, we're back with the reverb now. Producer Jeff is saying that your other device may have disconnected. The wonders of technology. No. 1 second. I will say while we're at it, you know, we mentioned some albums by Jeff Coffin coming out recently. One of them was the Dream Shanti Project. Again, if you're looking for those really nice open-ended jams, that's the album to check out. And then Jeff was on a project with Dave Liebman, talk about another soprano saxophone icon. That was a tribute to Miles Davis's On the Corner project. So Jeff is on it. Victor Wooten's on it. It's got a lot of incredible cats on it, and they're kind of recreating that vibe, that On the Corner recording session, of which Dave Liebman was an original member. Hey, we have a podcast with Dave Liebman, and we did an episode a while back. We invite you to check it out on our website. Jeff Coffin, can't hear you. We still can't hear you.
No?
Oh, there you are. You're back.
Can you hear me?
Gotcha.
Oh, you got me.
I got you.
Okay, great.
Back in the groove.
I don't know what happened, but as long as we're back.
We're back.
Whoops. Hang on.
We hear you. Can't see you.
1 second.
It's all right. I'll cover for you.
All right. I don't know what's going on here. I don't know why.
Sometimes technology just goes screwy. Hey, if you're watching and you're enjoying, be sure to check out more of these episodes on jazziz.com and subscribe. We're running a deal right now, 3 months of digital access, 99 cents for 3 months. Plus, we'll roll you into receiving our next quarterly print issue. That would be the Fusion issue, folks. An issue with Chick Corea. We talked to some new Fusioneers. Theo Croker, Michael League is in there. It's going to be a really good issue that's coming out in June. You sign up now, you get the 3 months of digital access plus enrollment to receive that print issue. So act now. Visit us at jazziz.com.
Hey, so you can hear me? Oh, hang on a second.
I can hear you. Can't see you.
Maybe we're coming in.
Here we are.
Okay.
Front facing. We're getting a look at the workstation here.
Oh yeah, let me show you the workstation.
Okay, cool, man. Yes,
Okay,
yes.
Okay. Are you getting a bunch of crazy?
Get a little bit of
audio
crazy
stuff?
reverb. Yeah, we're getting a little bit of crazy reverb, but that's okay. Here we go into the Twilight Zone.
All
All right,
producer-
so this is kind of the work area.
Cool. And producer Jeff has just reminded you to lower the volume on the phone all the way off. Thanks, producer Jeff.
Doing that now. How's
Cool.
that? Is that better?
A little bit.
Okay, we'll try that.
That works.
And so, yeah, I just got all my Pro Tools stuff here, and drums and keyboards and all that, my horns, and bass clarinet, tenor, blah, blah, blah. That was actually, that's Yusef Latif's bass flute.
Get out of here, man.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Incredible.
All my music books and different things. Okay, so let me flip this back around here. I can figure out how to do that, which I should be able to do right here. Okay. Okay.
So let me play one more thing
for you.
Cool. We got what sounds like a track, and we're back in the fifth dimension. Now batting, Derek Jeter.
Can you still hear me?
Yep, we got you now.
Okay, great. Okay. So I just well, whatever. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what I did as long as it worked.
It worked. Looking good, sounded good.
All right. All right. So this tune, Vinny the Crow, is a tune that I wrote with my buddy Alex Clayton here in Nashville. And yeah, so this has Jordan Perlson on drums. This has Nigel Hall on keys, Michael League on bass from Snarky Puppy. I'm doing a bunch of woodwind stuff, flute, bass clarinet, tenor, what I call electro sax, which is the Qtron envelope filter, and DJ Logic also doing a bunch of turntable stuff on this.
Nice.
So I'll play you some of this, and you can check this out. Oh, Rich Aspinwall on guitar. How's the sound for you?
Sounds pretty good.
This is the envelope filter.
Sweet. Ooh. Nice. Dude.
Nigel's a funky dude.
Whoa.
Right. So on and so forth.
Oh,
So, yeah, it
man.
kind of goes back in the middle.
What a groove.
So
What a
yes,
groove.
Thank you. Yes, I'll be pulling that one apart tonight also at 7 o'clock Central on itastudiostreams.com. There'll be facebook.com/Jeff Coffin Music, 7 p.m. Central.
Awesome, man.
And I also want to mention that at the ITA Studio Streams website, itastudiostreams.com, you can donate into a PayPal fund that goes directly, 100% goes directly to Nashville musicians. I take nothing from any of these streams, and everything that I'm doing right now is trying to be funneled back into the local cats that not only have lost a lot of work. I know people that lost homes during the tornadoes, and so we've kind of had the double whammy down here. So doing what I can to help local cats. So if anybody's interested, itastudiostreams.com, you can donate directly through PayPal into that fund, which goes 100% to local Nashville musicians. So
Beautiful, man. Yeah. People listening at home, now is absolutely the time. The musicians, the gigs may have dried up, but they are really working to make sure that we have this creative content, this music that we love. So
Absolutely.
now's the time to donate, to buy the albums, to buy the merch. Very cool. Thanks for sharing that, Jeff.
Yeah.
As I mentioned, people watching on Facebook, they have dropped us some questions, some comments, and happy to get to those now.
Right.
So producer Jeff, anything from the web that we can ask Jeff here? Let's see. We may have caught producer Jeff off guard.
Maybe he was looking for his pants.
That's right. He wasn't on camera. There we go. So from Michelle, she wants to know, Jeff, have you considered doing international sax clinics with young talent in Canada? She'll link to some good upcoming talent. So I know you do a lot of international sax clinics. Any plans for Canada in the works?
Yeah, well, I've actually done quite a number of things in Toronto. I play with a group up there. I co-lead a group with Michael Acapinti up in Toronto. It's called In Orbit, and we've got our second record that's in the can. That's fantastic. It's
Sweet.
Michael and myself, Davide Dorenzo on drums, Felix Pastorius on bass, and Tom Reynolds on keys. They were recorded up in Toronto on a grant from the Toronto government, an arts grant. And it's a fantastic record. But I've done a lot of stuff up in that area also at the different, is it Humber College that's up there? University of Toronto also, in some different places through D'Addario up there as well. I think I've done some stuff in Vancouver also. A few different places that I've done workshops in Canada. I love going to Canada. I absolutely love Canadian people. The food, I go there for the food. The bagels in Montreal, the
Paramount, yep.
That was the
Saint Viateur.
The poutine, right?
Yep.
Woo! Gotta love it. And
yeah, except for you're full for like 8 days after
right.
that.
Yeah, you can't do that very often.
Cardiologist is very happy.
Yeah, like once or twice in a lifetime.
Exactly.
But it's Toronto is such a great scene. I've got some really, really wonderful friends up there. Brilliant saxophonist Luis Deniz up there from Cuban descent, who's just a brilliant alto player. And Roberto and Michael Acapinti, great friends. Davide, Dominic Mancuso, just so many cats up there that I really adore. And Tom Reynolds, who used to live here, and we played in a Cuban band together for many years, teaches theology at the University of Toronto.
Nice.
He's a brilliant keyboardist. So I've done a bunch of work up there, and definitely plan on getting back up there, once things are more opened up.
Nice, man. Yeah, and it's a shame, Montreal, one of the great jazz fests, in the world. It's a shame that they had to cancel this year, but we'll be back. There will be music at the other end of this thing. But another question here, producer Jeff, from a young musician. Okay, Johnny wants to know what advice you have for young musicians trying to find their own sound.
Yeah. First of all, that's a cool picture, Johnny. I like that. It looks like the thing is holding you up like that. That's cool. Well, I think that through imitation comes originality. So I think that you have to listen to different styles of music and different styles of players to kind of see what direction you gravitate towards. But here's the thing that I really believe, and for me, even going back and listening to like very early recordings of myself, I think everybody already has their own sound. And part of that is the facial makeup, the bones, the thickness, the density of your bones, the size of the oral cavity in your mouth, the shape of your jaw, the shape of your head. Everything has to contribute to the sound that you get out of your instrument. So I think that just developing that, obviously you have to do things like long tones. I read an interview with Lenny Pickett the other day, the saxophonist from Saturday Night Live. And he said that when he was younger, that he was doing hours of long tones a day. And I've been there too, sitting there with the tuner, soft to loud, back down to soft again for, hours during the day. And really developing your flexibility, your breath control. So the fundamentals comes into play a lot when you're working on developing your own sound, the control of that sound, the pacing of those notes, also being able to hold out a note and support it, with the body, internalizing all of that, and playing in a lot of different situations,
right?
Trying to be authentic in as many situations as you can. So my sound is malleable and it's changeable, it's mutable, and in many ways, many ways it's mutable. Not only changeable, but mute it. Is there a drummer in the house? I think just through playing different styles of music, transcribing, listening to different players. If you're an alto player and you've never checked out Cannonball Adderley or Charlie Parker or Ornette Coleman, people like Lee Konitz, you've got to know and understand some of the history of this music also. And Maceo Parker is another one that I think is, on that must-know list.
Right.
And I played with James Brown for many years, and then later Prince, and of course as a solo artist. There's a lot of music to check out. You can't ever listen to all of it, but understanding the role of your instrument in different scenarios. Kadri Golpanath was a brilliant Indian saxophonist, Carnatic classical saxophonist, and he would sit in lotus position with no neck strap and play the crap out of the alto. It was unbelievable. And just a brilliant musician. I met him a couple of different times and got to hang with him one time when he was in Nashville, which was super fun.
Oh, nice, man.
We went to an electronics store and picked out gear.
That's awesome. No, I love his stuff. And there's a recurring theme as I talk with musicians on this program. Something we talked about earlier is, phenomenal instrumentalists, grew up just really adoring vocalists. And vice versa. These vocalists that listen to nothing but, trumpet players or, a lot of, Coleman Hawkins listened to opera music and, Coltrane listened to Stravinsky and all that stuff. So very important, like you said, to be open-eared. But at the end of the day, it just comes down to that authenticity. There's no such thing as a person. So even if you try to imitate, there's no such thing as a perfect copy. Your fingerprints are on it. It's inevitable.
Well, I remember doing a clinic in Florida one time at one of the universities.
Could have been the one where you met me, man.
It could have been. And if it was, you would remember this. It was just the saxophones that I had for a clinic, right? And so we were talking and I said, okay, I just want you to play a chorus of the blues right down the line. I don't care what tempo. I don't care what key. Just one chorus. I want to hear each of you in succession. And we'll do 2 or 3 at a time and we'll go back and we'll talk about it. And I think it was an alto player, I think it was, that you could tell that he had a lot on the ball, And when I was mentioning some different players afterwards, I mentioned the name of Chris Potter, and I saw everybody kind of look at him. I said, you like Chris Potter? And he said, yeah, I really do. I said, me too. And I said, well, tell me 3 things you like about Chris Potter. Mm-hmm. And I said, because I think that he's, one of the greats. He's a buddy, and I love his playing. And He said, okay, he says, I like his sound. Um, um, I like his concept of playing,
Okay.
changes. And I don't know, let's say I like his altissimo. And I said, great. I said, perfect. I said, so what was the word you used before you described what you liked? He said, what do you mean? I said, well, you said sound, altissimo, and concept. What was the word you used right before that?
His.
His. And I
Yeah.
said, what I want is yours.
Yeah.
I said, because we've already got Chris Potter. I said, be influenced,
Right.
inspired. I said, but if you're trying to imitate and be a clone, it's just going to be a bad imitation. There's a story. There's a friend of mine who I haven't seen for years, actually. He was a classical composer, got into the pop world also, named Ron Frangipani. And I met him years ago down in Florida at a place that we were staying with Dave Matthews. We just happened upon each other. And kind of an older cat. He went to Eastman. At the time, Eastman was bringing in Stravinsky to work with young composers.
Whoa.
Ron was the youngest composer ever chosen to work with Stravinsky. So Maestro would choose the students himself. So Ron said for his first lesson, he said, I brought all these scores with me that were very influenced by Stravinsky. He said he was my favorite. He says, I was out of my mind with joy to study with Maestro. And he said, so I brought him in and I gave the scores to Stravinsky. And he said he was looking through, he says, I could tell that he was hearing my music in his head as he was reading through my scores. He says, and I everything I could do, like, to not go, tell me, what do you think? And so he gets done, and he says, he hands back the music to me. He says, bad Stravinsky. He says, I have drawers full of this at home. He says, when you come back next week, I want to hear you.
Wow.
It was the single most important lesson of his life.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible. And it is important,
Of course.
You got to be yourself. And
Yeah.
a lot of times we do get wrapped up
Yeah.
in the sound and in writing, its voice and something like that. But at the end of the day, once you remove that concern from in front of your face, there's just
Right.
you. But yeah,
Well,
man.
and here's the thing, and this is something Bela told me many years ago. He said, look, he says, I'll never be an Indian musician. He says, I'll never be an African musician, et cetera, et cetera. He says, but I'm influenced by all those things. He
Right.
says, I can go deep down those rabbit holes and kind of wear those coats. He said, but the traditions that exist in those countries are centuries and millennia old.
Right.
But we can be influenced. Certainly, it's literally at our fingertips now, on the keyboard. It's right there, man. Look up African music. Music out of Mali has changed my life.
Yep.
The reason that Bela went to Africa was because of some music that I played him on the back of the bus one time.
Oh, really? Oh,
This woman named Umu Sangare.
okay.
This record called Waratan. And he put his head in through the back door. He said, what is this? I said, this is my favorite music of the last 20 years. So this is Umu Sangare out of Mali.
Okay.
And
I got to
he
jot that
listened
down.
for a while. And he said, man, he says, it's banjo music.
Yeah.
And I said, wow. I said, really? And he said, yeah. He says, I have to go to Africa.
Wow, man.
And that's how it happened, man. And then he went deep into that pocket. The stuff that he did in Africa has just been re-released also.
Yep.
On a DVD and multiple LP set, I believe.
Correct. Yep.
Throw Down Your Heart.
Throw
It's
down your heart. Mhm.
incredible, man. Wow. Just check that out, please, people. Go check that out. It's unbelievable.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Jeff, I think we got time for one last question here.
Sure.
And it comes from Rachel. Oh, and it's a good one. Okay. What is something you are looking forward to musically this year?
Yeah. Well, thanks, Rachel. Thanks for checking the show out also. I would say there's a lot of things I'm looking forward to musically, creating new music, releasing new music. I'm very excited to be able to get out these 45s on Ear Up Records.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm in the middle of a lot of things, and depending on what we're able or not able to do publicly, I'm looking forward to like really digging into doing live streams and creating music with people around the world, sending stuff around the world, and creating, and again, finding creative ways of being creative, doing education work online, also doing cool stuff like this with Jazziz on the Jazziz Brunch, which is super fun. And so I think creating, I think that's the main thing I'm looking forward to this year, finding interesting and creative ways of being creative.
Right on, man. Well, thank you so much. This has been awesome, Jeff.
My pleasure.
People, please, the EPs that are out right now, Songs of Solitude, the digital 45s, go check them out. You're going to be on a live stream tonight, Jeff?
Yes, sir. 7 o'clock Central Time at facebook.com/Jeff Coffin Music. There it is.
There it is.
And you can check the links out. You can go to itastudiostreams.com or also jeffcoffin.com for more information and information on what I do educationally as well.
Dig it. Right on, man. Well, I raise a glass of chai tea, mushroom elixir to you.
Here's some ginger turmeric to you, buddy. And my own cup. Look at that.
I love it.
Uh-huh. Love it.
Beautiful. Well, I will see you backstage, friend. And in the meantime, I'm going to sign off to the people at home. And but this was a pleasure. Absolute pleasure. Thanks for sharing the music. Thanks for dancing.
Yeah,
and,
you got it.
I hope to do it again soon.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody. Take care. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other.
Amen to that. Well, wow. What a treat, man, to have Jeff Coffin on the episode with his own little radio show, hosting the dance party for the Jazziz Daily Brunch. I sincerely hope you enjoyed it. I know I did. I just want to sign off by thanking a few more sponsors. They include Mac Avenue Records. This label has been showing us the road to great music for 20 years now. 2 new albums coming out soon. One is by the incredible pianist Connie Hahn. She's got a new album called Iron Starlet that is due out June 12th, and another one by a phenomenal young keyboardist named Christian Sands. He does a lot of work with Christian McBride. That album is called Be Water, and it will be out July 17th. They're in the midst of this really cool Errol Garner reissue series called the Octave Remastered series, and they're going to be releasing Errol Garner albums, totally remastered. They sound great throughout the year. And they've got a new all-star tribute to Oscar Peterson called Oscar with Love. It's out right now. They have a 5 LP deluxe edition. It's really nice. Check them out at macavenue.com. And thanks also to Smoke Sessions Records. They have a new album out right now by Wayne Escoffrey, another great saxophonist. That album is called The Humble Warrior. It has already dropped, so go stream it, go buy it at smokesessions.com. And another recording by the late, great Harold Mayburn, who's a pianist we lost in 2019. He did a recording live at Smoke, and Smoke has compiled Harold playing his own compositions into an album called Mayburn Plays Mayburn. And that's really great too. Again, check it out on smokesessionsrecords.com. That'll do it for this week's episode. Some amazing episodes to look forward to next week. We've got Jimmy Haslip on the show on Monday, the 27th. Boney James coming on to talk with us on Tuesday, the 28th. Rudresh Mahanthapa, who's running the jazz program up at Princeton on Wednesday, the 29th. John Regan on Thursday, the 30th. And we're going to kick things off in May 1st on Friday with Delphio Marsalis. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. To, again, all the healthcare workers, first responders, essential workers, truck drivers, people in grocery stores, thank you so much for everything that you do. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next time on the Jazziz Daily Brunch. So long.